Yo, back at it with another podcast episode. This is crazy. It's like I feel like we haven't done one of these in like forever, but actually we did one like 10 minutes ago. This is number 3 on the day, everybody. And thank you to all of you who responded to the Instagram story question box. What were your biggest and what are your biggest trigger foods? Trigger food. A trigger food is a food that once you start, all bets are off. Once you see it, you just cannot say no. It's the food that you're like, keep that away from me, because if I even go there, it's going to be a hot mess. And the follow-up to this question was, what's your trigger food? And then what's your strategy for coping with that?
Yeah.
Now, before we dive into this, I want to say that for a good portion of my health and fitness life as a coach and as like a person who's just navigating this thing, I was like, I live with from the perspective that the goal is to just shut this stuff out. Mm-hmm. And that I'm going to create a sustainable, lifelong practice of just not having this stuff, because when I don't have it, I feel better. But it was like a decade or more of like, don't ever have it. It comes in, binge on it like crazy, because I'm like, well, I just had pizza, but fuck it, I'll have the whole pizza because tomorrow I start the new, I start the clock over again. I'm never going to have a pizza again. So there's like, there's just no concept. Like moderation was not even in the conversation. Yeah. It's just like all or nothing. And that might work for very few people. I come to realize. And so this is not going to be an episode where we're talking about like, this is how you avoid this stuff forever. And if somebody says like, this is how I cope with it, these can be real strategies for people to mitigate the kind of impact that overindulgence on these types of foods can have on just your sense of well-being, your emotional state, your physical state. Mm-hmm. None of the foods that we're going to talk about are bad foods. Yep. But there's no question that if you overeat a lot of these things, like you could feel physically horrible and you can get into a very big, shame spiral. And we want to, I use techniques still, and I coach people with techniques of like, hey, this could be a way that you can enjoy this thing and not feel bad about yourself and not feel like you want to throw up or not feel like, you have to go run 10 miles tomorrow just to like work off the pizza that you had. Yep. So that's where we're coming from on this. Yeah. And you know what? Sati, I'm going to let you just sort of share your trigger food.
It's not a mystery to anyone who knows me or has been around functional bodybuilding long enough. My trigger food is Swedish fish.
Which in Sweden they call just fish.
No. In Sweden, I'm already looking forward to this. There is a day of the week called Lördagsgodis. It's like an event that happens every Saturday. I think I'm getting the name right. Swedish people, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's basically they abstain from sweets all week, and then on Saturday everybody goes out and gets a big bag of like pick and mix candy, and it's like it's specifically the day to eat candy.
Yeah, it's candy day.
It's candy day.
We did that when we were
We
there.
did it because I'm obsessed with the Swedish fish, and there's all kinds of great options.
Yeah, they had a lot of gummies there.
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
Okay, so that's one
my
of
trigger
them.
food.
That's your trigger food. And so what have you learned as like a tool to either to cope with that or to
What I've learned is that I make it a practice to keep Swedish fish stocked in my house at all times. To never have a sense of deprivation, because that's a danger for me. I do feel that like last meal sensation. Yeah. Yeah. So that's one strategy. And the second strategy is I have learned that if I keep up my protein intake, it drastically cuts down on cravings. Yeah. And if I get enough sleep, then it cuts down on cravings. So I know when I am drawn to a Swedish Fish episode, particularly, which is like when I'm under protein and when I am underslept or when I'm emotional. And I can almost kind of watch that happen. And if it does happen, I'm like, that's fine, move on.
Yeah.
But on a day to day, it's more like I'm eating plenty of protein. The majority of my foods are low calorie, filling, nutritious, whatever. And I can have Swedish Fish on top of that and not derail the momentum. Unless I'm particularly underslept or underproteined.
Very cool. Hearing other people's coping mechanisms and reading about them and just hearing yours, I find it to be very informative. Like, I'm like, yeah, that actually, I can understand how that would work, and maybe I'm going to utilize that. Like, we'll get to some of the ones that I wrote today or I received.
Yeah.
But there's some good ones there that really, I was like, I've never really thought about that, but that would actually work. Well, sweets, like Swedish Fish, candy sweets, definitely came in at like one of the highest responses. I'm going to go through some of the others on the list. There was probably several hundred responses, I would guess. And these are the ones that came in, okay? Sweets, pizza, French fries, burgers, potato chips, ice cream, other desserts, sugary cereal, peanut butter, and generally nut butters, donuts, bread, cookies or biscuits, however you prefer to call them, chocolate, popcorn. A couple people said brownies.
Yeah, I could go for brownie too.
And then alcohol as a gateway to just
good one.
Every
Yeah.
delicious thing
totally.
in your way.
Did anyone say pot?
No. Actually, did somebody say that? I'd have to go back and look. Maybe one, but it was very a food focused thing, you know? Yeah. So, okay, here are some of the, let's just generally look at like what a lot of these have in common.
Oh, they just light your brain F, it's just like zing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They light your brain. They also generally, many of them are the kind of dreaded combination of high sugar and carb with high fat. And that is a very, it's an interesting combination of macronutrients because that is not a combination that is observed in the natural world in many places at all. Like there are no really high carb, high fat foods that grow on a tree or that are an animal.
Yeah.
You have high protein, high fat combinations. You can have protein carb combinations. That's like protein carb is like beans, lentils.
Yeah.
But it's just not, they're very limited examples of carbs and fat. Like an avocado fruit has, fat and carbs. Coconut has, coconut flesh. It's got fat in it, but there's also the coconut water, which is carbs. So they exist, but it's just not,
it's not the same.
Avocado too is a lower density type of thing where it's like there's fiber in it, it's filling. It'd be like, you can certainly eat a lot of guacamole. Don't get me wrong.
I was just thinking about that.
You could pack away a lot of guacamole, but is it like, are you more like, well, I guess this is taste preferences, but if there's like a pile of donuts that you're going into versus like a big old bowl of guacamole,
Well, and with the guacamole, you get the chips, the salty chips.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So then now you have the combination. Okay. Anyway, so that's the feature of these in many cases. Swedish Fish, however, pure sugar, no fat there. So you're kind of winning. Nice job. Chose a good one. But yeah, they really light up your brain. There's a
Yeah.
texture component to a lot of them. There's a
Totally.
salty, a sweet,
There's
a
an
fatty.
emotional component. Often these
Yeah.
were things that, like, as kids, it's
They
like,
were-
oh, no.
Well, or that you ate those when it was a celebration. It was like, oh, like in all the fun times that you remember, like had a cookie or had an ice cream or had a cake or
Got to
had
go out to the movies and get popcorn.
yeah, like my dad took us to get donuts every Sunday. That was like the only time I got to spend with him during the week, and I was excited about him. Like now, I just love to have donuts whenever. So yeah, those are top trigger foods. If you're listening, you have a trigger food that was not mentioned, I would love to know what it is. Please
Yeah.
send me a DM. This is a very interesting concept to me, and I would like to expand, especially if you're from different cultures and countries. Like,
Yeah.
what are the trigger foods for people like in India?
I mean, they do have a lot of like sweets and
Yeah.
fried sweet things.
Right. I'm guessing there's a lot of things that are similar, but it's like they're probably not crushing Fruit Loops as they're. I don't know if Fruit Loops are a big thing in India. I mean, that's somebody's craveable thing here, but I'd love to hear. Anyway, so I will. Cool Ranch Doritos, boom, chips and crisps. Yeah. Well, I know that for me at times there was. I've talked about my peanut butter
Your
phase.
thought you were gonna say peanut M&Ms.
Peanut M&Ms, yeah. Although I found peanut M&Ms to not be like too much. I mean, they were. I love them, but like, they weren't. I don't know. I just wasn't always around peanut M&Ms. Like, but there's always a jar of peanut butter around because that's like a health food, you know, or at least like the natural organic peanut butter jar, and really what it is just like a light up your brain, like one of the most delicious flavors that the human palate has ever been introduced to, and it is incredibly calorically dense. Just like, a jar of peanut butter, if you can put it down, I think it's 2,000. I mean, it's like 1,500 to 2,000 calories of, goodness right there. And sadly, that was me for a good chunk of my early 20s, was eating a jar of peanut butter many nights, or at least like half of one.
Yep.
And just feeling sadness and shame on the couch. So peanut butter is on my list for sure. Now, getting into talking about how people coped.
Yeah.
Here's number one. I buy a small pizza and then I immediately freeze half of it so that I'm eating half of a small pizza and I chug a protein shake right afterwards. Tell me your first thoughts on this one.
I was just going to say chug the protein shake right before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be my strategy.
What do you like? I like the idea of like anticipatory portion control.
Yeah, I'm into that.
It's like buy the size that is like, like I'm buying the size that's like, I want to have this much. I don't even want to have the whole thing. So I'm going to immediately freeze the leftovers before they're leftovers.
It's also like you're setting yourself up for a future reward when you have that second half too.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. So if that's a new one to you and you've never heard that strategy before, give it a try.
Yeah.
Buy your bag of Swedish fish,
And
open it, just separate it into two small baggies, right? Put one back in the drawer and then just enjoy half of the bag.
Yeah.
This is like, don't eat the chips and the crisps out of the bag.
Put it in something else.
Put it in a bowl and measure out 1 to 2 servings, and then put the bag away.
Yeah, I do that too.
It's not a lot of chips, but that's informative when you see that.
Yeah.
It's like David Lapp, my physics teacher in high school. He had like the palm rule.
Yeah.
He's like, I can eat anything as long as it fits in my palm, and he would like have all these random snacks throughout the day that would fit in his palm. It's like the dude was jacked. I was like, okay, well, that's obviously how you get jacked. Okay.
Okay.
Next
like
up, I limit myself to one every 2 weeks. So this is just a frequency thing. You know it's coming. You get to prepare for it. What are some other iterations of this? Friday night is pizza night.
Yeah, it's like tradition.
Yeah, you have the time where you're gonna, your trigger food's gonna be on the menu.
Yeah.
You might want to have another strategy maybe for the portion control. Maybe you're combining a ones and a twos.
Yeah. I'd be curious for this person how that works on a 2-week frequency, you know?
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
would it be better to have
why did you come up with 2 weeks?
2 weeks, yeah.
Why isn't it why isn't it once a week? Or why isn't it once a month? Like, what is the benefit, to going more frequent or less frequent? Like, you go less frequent and you like really go to town on it. You're like, well, if it's only once every 2 weeks, I'm not going to do this, buy a small and freeze half of it. I'm going to get the large and eat the whole thing.
Yeah.
But if you went every week and you bought the small and you halves eat it, you'd be net eating less of it. I don't know. More often. Yeah. All right. When I crave dessert, I will always start by eating a big bowl of fruit. I'm assuming that after the big bowl of fruit, if they still want some dessert, they might allow themselves to have it.
Yep.
But what does the fruit do for you when you're having that craving?
Yeah.
It's a big old volume of lots of water. Most fruit is mostly water. There's fiber in it.
Vitamins.
There's nutrients that are in there. There's carbs. There's sugar.
Yeah.
You're going to get that.
It still lights up your brain.
Yeah, you're going to get that sweet hit.
Yeah.
But, it's like, I'm craving a dessert. I want to go grab the Thin Mints. Okay, you go grab the Thin Mints and you can have 6 cookies, or you can eat 2 to 3 apples. Maybe apples isn't your craveable thing, but like you can eat
a giant bowl of watermelon.
Yeah, a giant bowl of watermelon and have 1 Thin Mint to go with it. And it's like one fills you up. You finish the 6 Thin Mints, maybe you reach for the next one and it's your trigger food and you go. So this gives you a sense of fullness and sweetness. This is like the Ben Patrick strategy. He was like, I just eat a bowl of fruit every night.
Yeah.
He's like, I haven't had a cheat meal in like 4 years or something.
Well, he's a different animal.
Yeah, I think he actually had ice cream with his son recently, and he kind of broke his streak.
And now he's like crushing
Ben
and Jerry's.
It's just it all went to hell. Okay. I just don't keep it in my house. So this is like kind of the age-old fitness strategy. It's like, don't fill your house with trigger foods. I believe in this to a certain degree. It's create the safest environment that you can for yourself, or create an environment where there are a lot of options that you want to be making and very few of the options that you don't want to be taking each day.
Yeah.
I realized after years of being like, we don't have any shit in the house. There's no bad food. There's nothing, that the moment it did come into the house, it was like kryptonite. It was like, oh, damn. And so this was interesting with kids. It was like, okay, well, they want to have these things around. These are like important to them. I'm not going to just be like, no, we're not having that in our house. Like, that's just not the parenting style I'm going to take. And so now I have to get used to having a cereal or chips or something craveable in the house all the time. And what I've come to find out is like building up a tolerance to like having these things there has helped. It's actually made it easier to not like just crave it all the time.
Yeah.
Or go that for them to trigger me as much. And it's kind of interesting. Like I look at like, that was sort of like a parenting strategy too, is like, let's not make these foods just so scarce that the moment our kids see them or they get them at a friend's house or they experience them, that they're just going to like go wild on it.
Yeah.
It's like very gratifying to like see our kids get like this big bowl of ice cream and take 2 bites and be like, oh, we're done.
Yeah.
I don't need any more, because they know there's going to be another time to have it.
That's exactly my approach with my kids too, and that's worked really, really well.
Yeah.
They have a snack drawer, and right now there's like M&Ms in there. There's little bags of trail mix. There's some healthy granola bars. There's just a mix of like some snacky foods and some healthy foods and some sweets. And they also often get fruit or a cheese stick or something like that. So yeah, I think that for me, the out of sight, out of mind, out of the house entirely does not work, because at a certain point I will feel emotional and I will feel an emotional need to eat. And it's just not, it's a bad place to be in.
Yeah. So I'm with you. I'm evolving to that. But you know, it's like if you can have 90% of the things in your home that are wholesome, if the counter is always full of, you know, delicious, fresh looking fruit, and if there's protein prepared in the fridge, and you know, then you're going to be in a better place. It's when the only convenient options are the trigger foods. Then you're in a bad way.
Yeah, and that's something else I did recently too. Is I made a conscious decision to always keep a candy stash, you know, and I also added like a Quest chocolate protein bar to the stash. So that's always in there as well.
Cool.
So it's like, sometimes I have the protein bar, sometimes I have the candy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. This person says, I go out and I buy single serving sizes from 7-Eleven of my cereals that I love. So this I'd never really thought of. I was like, oh yeah, because it's easy to buy a big old box of, you know, Captain Crunch. But if I just had like a little box of Captain Crunch, then it's like, cool, there you go. Like I don't have to weigh it out. I know exactly what the serving is on this. You know, it's like people, I think food scales need to be normalized more. I don't think it's weird. I don't think it's crazy. I don't think you need to like, oh, I don't ever want to weigh something. It's like, look, you're pouring something out of a box that is really triggering and highly dense, and you know, your eyes can deceive you. It's like, if you know what a serving size is, that's going to be helpful for you to enjoy the things that you want to enjoy without going overboard.
Yeah.
You know, do you need to weigh out your like strawberries and your broccoli? Like, no, like there's barely anything there. That's like, just everything's good about that. Like you probably don't even need to weigh out your protein. Just make sure it's about the size of your hand and you got yourself enough protein. But like, if you're going to like eat peanut butter, I challenge you to actually scoop out one serving of peanut butter, 1 tablespoon of peanut butter accurately. Like it's hard. Like weigh that on a scale and realize, whoa, that's how I just consumed 400 calories in one bite. Like,
the eyeball tablespoon gets real wonky.
So, but yeah, then in this instance, somebody else, I didn't write it down because it was the same exact concept, but they're like, I buy single serving boxes of cereal. I buy the single serving packets of peanut butter and almond butter.
Oh yeah.
And then I just grab those and I squeeze them, and then I know I'm not like doing the dip and
I like that.
And somebody even said that for like, you know, Greek yogurt. They're like, I don't like to scoop it out and weigh it. It's like, then just buy the single serving, you know, 20 grams of protein packs, and then you just know.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. This was beautiful. This came from somebody who reported that they suffer from eating disorders for a big portion of their younger life. And they said that having an emotionally rich life and being mission driven in their life has dramatically improved their relationship to foods and trigger foods.
Oh, I love that.
It's so true. It's like, if you're sitting around without a purpose and you don't feel like your life is emotionally rich and you're just in your house, food is so comforting. But it's like, I think back to like periods of time when I was just like, I'm so mission driven. I know what I want. Like this is so rich. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot to eat. Like, you know, it's like you just, it fills your soul so much. And then you don't need to fill with those trigger foods.
Yeah. That's what got me over my Chex Mix days.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was all happening when I was in a very difficult state in my life.
Yes. Right. Wow. Okay. Well, thank you for that. Okay. I just keep it to special events. That was what they said. I only eat my trigger food at special events, which I wrote, I commented, okay, well, special events like a birthday or a holiday or something like that, sure, like then it kind of maybe spreads the frequency out in a way that is good for you. But then there's like periods of time of the year where like the special events just stack. Like, okay, between November and like January, like you're just
going ham.
Yeah, it's like every other day.
Yeah.
This reminds me of my brother Tony's approach was like, he had some acronym for it, but it was basically like, is it like fuck, what was it? It was like something like, is this thing like is it good enough? Is it worthy enough for like me to?
Oh, like Spongeworthy, like from Seinfeld?
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that reference, Spongeworthy. Nate's like, what? Do you remember? Yeah. Yeah. It was like Elaine's birth control, right?
Yeah,
she like had a bunch of sponges.
Like, they stopped manufacturing her birth control sponge, and so she had a limited supply. And for every guy, I was like, "Is he sponge-worthy?"
Yeah. Is this dessert? Is this special treat sponge-worthy? No. Anyhow, I think the special events is, for me, it's not a great one. It's like, I actually would prefer, and I think about it, I'm like, when I've gone and like overindulged at a party, I'm like, or like an event, like I usually end up feeling like kind of, because I'm not in like an environment that I'm like,
it's not like you get to put your sweats on and you're like hidden in the dark on your sofa, just you and your giant bowl of popcorn. It's like you're like in public, like wearing something nice, like trying to talk to people and like have your moment with your treat.
And it's also like at somebody else. It's like I'm not hosting events all the time. Like I might host one event a year, but like if I save it for other people's events, then like I'm gonna eat their special thing. Like I'm like, no, I want my day in my house where I'm eating my thing.
Yeah. You know what I don't like about this one is that it puts it out of your own control. It's like you're waiting for some other event to happen that gives you permission, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. This person says, I slow down. I start to take deep breaths and I pause to check in with my emotions.
Good.
Fucking great.
Love that.
We could all do more of that.
Oh, hell yeah.
Just in all
parts. Yeah.
Get in your car before you start driving recklessly and with rage. Just slow down, take a breath. How are you doing? Okay, number 9 was guzzle water before the meal. Mm-hmm. I've done this, and here's what I'll say. Having just a big old belly full of water,
sloshy belly,
it's not super comfortable.
Yeah.
And if I'm gonna like enjoy this, I mean, from the strategy here to like get a stretch reflex on the gut to like fill up, I'm all for that. But man, I don't personally love chugging water. Yeah. Until it's like late in the day, it's like done, not moving around.
Yeah.
It's like the conversation we were having with Shauna about like hitting the leg press on a full belly. It's like, I'm going to be moving throughout the day. I don't want to have like a full stomach and like be like doing a lot of work and feeling like I'm going to shit my pants.
Yeah.
All right. This person says, I just avoid restrictions in my diet so I don't end up binging on my trigger foods.
Yeah.
So they reduce restrictions. This is the flexible dieting approach. It's like have a little bit every day, and then guess what? You're not as inclined to go ham on the trigger food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's my strategy.
Yeah. We've talked about this one. All right. How about this? Brush your teeth often and early in the night.
Yeah.
So you just finished dinner. Mm-hmm. You know, you got 3 hours before bed. Go brush your teeth right after dinner.
Yes.
Not just before bed. You can brush them again before bed, but like when you got yourself a minty fresh mouth and you just clean those teeth, you're not. Yeah. So brush your teeth 3 times a day. One right after each meal. It'll cut down on your post meal cravings and triggers.
I like that a lot when I do track macros. I like that feeling of like knowing I'm at the end of my day of eating. Just be like, I've checked the last thing off, and I'm going to go brush my teeth and wash my face and do my skincare no matter what time it is, you know? And then it's like this feeling of like, I'm done for the day.
One thing that's kind of similar to this for me is like, it's almost like I save something for the like end to like, this is going to be my end of the night. Like I get
Your
to look
nightcap.
forward. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what did you just call it?
The nightcap.
It's hilarious. I've got this new supplement from Creatures of Habit. And it's like a pre-bed, like, you know, sleep supplement.
Yeah.
It's called Nightcap with the K.
Yeah.
Knight. And it's chocolatey. It's like, it's very, I mean, it's got some carbs and fat in it, not a lot of calories, but it's like hot chocolate. And I've been having that like every night for the last month, maybe more. I guess I've gone through a bag of it. So we're into like the 40-day range. So good. And so like I finished my dinner and I'm like, I get to have that in like, you know, an hour and it's going to feel really good. And I mix in a little element with it, the chocolate caramel.
The chocolate one.
Yeah, it's dope. So brush your teeth and then look forward to the little nightcap. Okay. Allow myself 1 meal out per week with no restrictions.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a cheat meal.
Yeah.
I mean, the treat meal.
A treat meal.
Yeah, treat yourself. Okay, and then last but not least, I make macro-friendly versions of my triggers. And this was the Ninja Creamy. Hey, ice cream's my trigger. Guess what? I make macro-friendly ice cream every day. It's called Ninja Creamy Double Peanut Butter Double Chocolate. DM me recipe for the recipe.
For like 3 months straight, and we just looked at the InBody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nate has dropped a significant amount of weight in the last
Nate is crushing it.
couple months.
Yeah.
The last month. Can I share that?
Sure.
Nate dropped 11 pounds last month, and beyond just dropping 11 pounds, I mean, he looks like he's just totally a new man.
Totally different person.
Crushing it. My workout partner is crushing it right
I know.
now. I love
You're
it.
like struggling to keep up with Nate.
It's true. It's
yeah.
true.
Yeah. Because he's just gotten so strong.
He's gotten so strong, and pretty soon he's going to drop all his body weight and he's going to be doing gymnastics like a ninja.
He's going to just bust out the strict muscle ups and I'll feel sad.
Yeah.
I've never tried it. I'll wait till I'm in the 200 range.
Yeah. But Nate's comment was that he's eaten Ninja Creamy ice cream every day for like 60 days.
Yeah.
And he's still like losing body weight a lot. And
Yeah.
so, you know, it's macro friendly versions of these foods can not just like, it's not just about like, oh, I got to like, but it's a way to make it feel like this is just part of the routine. I'm not giving up everything.
Yeah.
But I also realize that like, you know, could he have regular ice cream every day and lose weight? Yes. But it would be like,
A tiny
bit.
bit.
Yeah. It'd be like two spoonfuls of Ben and Jerry's versus like a pint of Ninja Creamy. And he's, you know, that way he's more, and I've had, I think I looked it up. Our Ninja Creamy arrived from Amazon on like September 18th of last year. And I think there's been maybe like 6 or 7 total days that I've missed because we were on like vacation, or I was on vacation. I didn't pack it with me, which I might reconsider next time. But yeah, it's a great thing. So macro friendly recipes, there's lots of people doing that stuff online. But you know, you don't have to spend the rest of your life eating macro-friendly versions of these things.
Right.
We just outlined a bunch of ways that you can actually
do both.
approach.
Yeah.
You can do both,
Yeah.
right? So, anyway, if you've got some strategies that you use that we didn't talk about, please DM me.
We want to know.
DM us. And if you've got trigger foods that weren't on our list, DM us.
Yeah.
And hopefully you can put some of this into practice and create that relationship with your trigger foods where you are not saying no to them for the rest of your life, and you can have a healthy balance of having them and still reach your health and fitness goals.
Love that.
What a cool episode.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Yeah. We'll see you next time.
Bye.